So this next exercise is to create a custom 404 page. So I tried not to give away too much in the introductory video where I sort of went over what the exercises were, but I'm going to go over all of that again here, and hopefully this will all make a little more sense. And hopefully, I didn't give everything away. So we're going to go to the Gorilla Mux docs, and you can see that this not found handler is an http.handler. So it implements this handler interface. So we want to be able to set this. Since this is a field, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that when we go to our code, you're going to set it by calling r.notFoundHandler, and you're just going to use the equals because it's not a function, so we don't need to call, we don't need to put parentheses at the end. It's an actual variable or a field. So we're going to use it like that, and we're going to assign it with the equal sign. So to use it, what we actually have to do is just assign it to a http.handler object. So I forget where here, but somewhere in these docs it actually talks about how the not found handler can be, well, apparently not. I thought it did, but essentially this is what's used for, it says here, configurable handler to be used when no route matches. So by default, it just uses the 404 page we've been seeing, this right here, 404 page not found. So we want to assign our own custom not found handler. So we're going to call this the not found function. So we're going to use the same exact function, the arguments that we're used to. And I'm going to copy this header line because we want to return HTML. We also want to write header, we're going to write http.status.not.found. This is like we did earlier on in this chapter. We want to make sure this is the 404 status code that goes back whenever we couldn't find it. And then lastly, we're going to write that we couldn't find the page. So I'm going to copy this H1 welcome to my awesome site line, and I'm going to change the text to be, sorry, but we couldn't find the page you were looking for. We don't need an exclamation mark. We'll just go ahead and leave it at that. So I save that. And we're currently not using, well, I still have this here, so that's the problem. So I want to go ahead and I want to assign this not found to the r.notFound handler. The problem is, if I do this, you'll see that we're getting an error. So not found, it says here, cannot use not found. It is the type function HTTP response writer request as type http.handler. So what we need to do is find a way to turn this into an http.handler. So as I alluded to in the exercise introduction, you can do this by turning it into a handler function type, and which, it's a type that matches the function of response writer request, but it's its own type that has its own method that implements the http.handler interface. So I'm going to show you the handler type. So the type handler just needs to be a type that implements this serve HTTP method. So if we go back to the handler function, you can see that's the only method it implements, and it just needs this function to do it. So to do this, we can call http.HandlerFunc, and then use left parenthesis, right parenthesis. So I want to also point out that this is handler with an R and not handle. So the function that we call is handleFunc. Even in HTTP, it's http.handleFunc. There's no R here when we're saying that we want to handle a pattern with the function. But this, the handler function, is an actual type that we can use these parentheses to convert this right here to the correct type. All right, so once we do that, we should see that when we save it, we don't have any more errors. So we can go ahead and go run main.go. And we want to go ahead and look at our page. And this is an invalid path, so I'm going to refresh, and you can see that we're now using our custom error page, our custom 404 page. Similarly, I want to show you that if we open up the Network Developer Tools and refresh, you can see that we're getting a 404 status back. So that's what the http.status.not.found part is doing, and it's important to have that on your 404 page just so basically, so if you got programs or other things like that touching your website or a crawler or anything like that, it knows that it's not a real page. All right, that's everything for this. I am going to go ahead and create a branch for it You don't need to do this because we won't be merging it into master, but I'm just going to call this custom 404 page. So we're going to go back to master, and all of these changes were taken away. All right, that's it.